And the idea is that you get some kind of an idea as to what it's for. So you don't really have a lot of use for parametrics in a standard construction, because you don't have to make your own windows. You can download them from BIMobject or the manufacturer now, but it's usually for things like that have adjustable properties in terms of height and width that you want to be able to program in the project, but you don't necessarily want to have to deal with all the detail of them. But it's easier to understand by doing rather than just talking about it. What I'm going to start by doing is I'm going to make a table. I made a test over here just to see if I can still remember how to do it. But what I want everybody to do is actually follow along with this and try and create this table along with me. Because if you get the table, there's a lot of concepts in here that will allow you to take it further, because you can become you can get into very, very complex things with families and parameters, and you can get Revit to generate fantastic, amazing shapes by itself that are then constructible just by playing with parameters. We're not going to get into any of the hardcore stuff because that's a completely different course, but at least to understand the starting point is something useful. So in order to make this table, I'm at the start screen here. I'm going to just start a new family. So I'm going to say new family. Click on that. Now we can either click on it here, or we can come up to the OR and click on new family up there. I'm going to use the English template, and I'm going to use the furniture template, because these are set up to make your life a little bit easier. So it's already set up to make a furniture element for us. So I'm just going to double click on metricfurniture.rft. RFT means family template. Wait. So metricfurniture.rft. Then it's just not showing the final thing. It's okay, it's the same as well. It's just the display setting is different. You don't know anything? So new families, so you can do it up here as well. To the R, come up to new family, not new project, but new family, second option. Once you do that, you can go into one of your family templates. What do they have in the Danny Dew one? They don't have anything in there, do they? I think I'll pause the video. Okay, so everybody should have something like this. It's just these two crosshairs on the screen. So all this is doing is, just as when we were dealing with a metric profile, it's giving us an insertion point when we want to insert this table into a project. So where these two lines cross is going to be the insertion point of the table we're going to make. So you can see at the top here, this is different from the normal project menu. So this is a family editor menu. So we're not in an actual project, we're in a family at the moment. And we get all these modeling tools right there in front of us, so we can use them. So we're going to make a table. So a table is just a series of rectangular elements that are being extruded. So I'm going to start off by drawing the shape of the table in plan view. So we're on the reference level. So I'm just going to make an extrusion. Just press this extrusion. And you can see what an extrusion does. It just takes a shape and then it makes it into a three-dimensional object. So extrusion. Once I do that, I get the drawing tools. I'm going to come up to the rectangle, and I'm just going to draw. It doesn't matter what size it is, what shape it is. I'm just going to draw a rectangle like that. That seems fine, so I'm just going to say finish edit mode. And you should have something like that. An impressive rectangle in the middle of the screen. So I'm just going to press WT to get all my open windows on screen at the same time. WT. And then I close down these two here and press WT again. So we have a plan view, and we also have a 3D view of what we have. So this is what we've made, this kind of slab here.
What if you lose your object? I've done that several times. I've lost my house because I've zoomed too far.
Type ZA, it'll zoom back into it. Yeah. So if you can't see your object on the screen, let's say it's over here, for example, just type ZA and it'll center itself on the screen for you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
What's that?
because they have to rotate it down.
Where's that line now? And or if you can just take your box up there.
Okay. Will I keep going?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, so we have a kind of a random sized rectangle here. We don't know what the thickness is, we don't know what the width or the length is, so we want to start organizing it. So rather than spending time getting it correct, we can actually just start drawing dimensions and then changing it according to the dimensions. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to the Modify tab here, and under the Measure, we've got this Align Dimension. So I'm just going to click that, and I'm going to click on one edge. Sorry, it's got the right one. I'm going to click on here. Then I'm going to click on the center of the reference plane here, and then I'm going to click on the final one over here. So you should have something like that. And then you can just choose a place where you want to place it. So I'm just going to put it there like that. So these are two random dimensions. So this is 790 at one side, and this is 1030 on the other side. If I want to make them exactly correct, we have this EQ sign at the top here. If I click on that, you can see that it makes it completely equal on both sides of the reference plane. Will I do that again? Okay.
But what does it really do when it says EQ?
Equal.
So,
It equals. Yeah.
Yes, I understand that, but so the numbers, they...
The numbers are just the same. So it takes the first side and makes the second side the same.
But I can't do the command, so it makes the second side.
Yeah, if you draw the dimension backwards. So if I do it this way, if I press dimension from this side,
Oh, it depends which the first.
depends where you draw it from. And then over here, put it up here, and then press equal. Oh no, it still does it from the right side. Yeah, it must just do it from the right side. There are some funny things about this family editor that you have to get used to, but anyway, never mind.
Maybe it always decreases in dimension, take the smaller.
Yeah, maybe that's what it does. Maybe that's what it does, yeah. So let's just do that again. I'll come back to you on the width of it. So I'm going to take an align dimension. I'm going to draw it from here to the reference plane, and then to the final edge over here. Take it outside, and then press equal. So now we have a rectangle that's equalized into planes, okay? So we always know that when it comes in at the insertion point, it will be an equal width on each side, okay?
Does it change the measures of the? If it changes the measures of the rectangle that we made, or just?
It just changed the measure, yeah. So now we need to get a dimension for the entire length of it. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to say measure. I'm going to take this line here and then the opposing line right on the other side of where we want the table to be. So it's giving us an actual length for it. It's 1579 I have. You have something else, I'm sure. And let's do that again for the width of it. This one to this one, and then take it out like that. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so now is where it starts getting a little bit smart. At the moment, the dimension is given at 1579. We want to be able to control this dimension without changing the drawing, just by typing in some figures. So if I select this dimension here, at the top here we get this, on the green line at the top here, you get some values. What we're concerned with here is the label. What are we going to label this dimension as? So at the moment it's set to none. I'm going to say add parameter. And this is what we get, parameter properties. Is it at the bottom? It depends on how you got your screen set up. Yeah. So you choose label, add parameter, and you get this. Now, there's a couple of options in here I won't get into because it's too complicated right now, but we're interested in it being a type parameter, because that means is that if we change one of these tables in the in the project, it'll change all of them. If we change it to an instance parameter, it'll only change that specific table we're dealing with at the time. But at the moment, I'm going to leave it a type, and I'm going to say table length, and press OK. And you can see that it adds a label to the dimension here at the top. So table length is now 1579. Okay, so let's just do that again. We'll do it with the width this time. So align dimension. Oh, sorry, I've already done that dimension. So we select the dimension we've made, come up to the label. Now we could set this the same as table length. If I change that there, you can see that we've suddenly got a square because it's made the table length exactly the same. Everybody got that? Let's do that again. So it's just a dimension at the moment, but if I change it to table length, it does it so that everything is the same. But we don't want it to be table length, we want it to be table width. So I'm going to select it again. I'm going to add a parameter. I'm going to call it table width. That's okay. So now we've got table length and table width. Everybody with me?
Can you go in and edit the name? Like if you misspelled it. This is a stupid question, but I want to change the letter.
Yeah, okay, the next thing I'm going to do is up here at the top left, if we're still in the Modify tab, we've got this button up here. This is called Family Types. If I select that, you can see we have the two parameters that we've put in here are also up here, and you can change the name of them in here if you want. Okay? But we can also come in here and change the value. So for example, if we wanted the length of the table to be 1800 millimeters and the width of the table to be, let's say, 1200 millimeters. Well, let's make it 900, that's more realistic. If I apply that, then you can see that it modifies the shape of the table according to what we just typed in. If I pause that for a second. Okay, so now we've set up controllable parameters for the table. Well, so much of the table as we've designed so up to this point. But let's say we're making this family for a manufacturer. Let's say somebody's paying you to make this family to put it onto BIM objects, some table manufacturer. So they might produce it in two different types. One is 1800 by 900 and the other one is 2400 by 1200, let's say. So we can actually set it up so it has family types. So I'm going to say new on the top here, and I'm going to just call this one table 1800 by 900. Okay. And you can see now we've got a family type at the top here. I can create a new one. New. Just going to call this one table 2400 by 1200. Okay. So now we have two options at the top here under this menu. 1800 by 900 and 2400 by 1200. So if I go to 1800 by 900, the table length and the table width are set up correctly. But if I change it to this type here, we need to go and modify the length to be 2400 and the width to be 1200 and apply. So you can see here on the screen I can switch now between the different family types. At the moment it's 2400 by 1200. I can select back and go to 1800 by 900, press apply, and it will modify for us. So we've kind of set up a grouping for all these different modifications within the parameters, okay? So that's basically setting up the first part of the table. So I'm just going to say okay. And we got something that looks like that. Everybody with me? Yeah, okay. So the next thing we need to do is set up the heights of the table. So the easy way to do this is to go into an elevation view. So I'm going to come over here to the left. I'm going to switch on the front elevation view. And at the moment, this is what we have. We've just got like this slab on the reference level down here. So we want to set it up at the correct level for us. So whenever you're dealing with parameters, you need to set up what's called a reference plane. And that's how you control the way things move in three-dimensional space. So I'm going to come up to create here, and I'm going to come over to this button here called reference plane under the create tab. So go over all the way to the left, press create, come all the way over here and select reference plane. If I select that, we basically get the ability to either pick a line or draw a line. So I'm just going to draw a line horizontally where I think the table should more or less go. It doesn't have to be accurate yet. So you should have something like this, a new reference plane.
No.
Will I do it again? Okay, so you come up to create, all the way across here under the datum kind of thing, there's something called reference plane. It's got a little pencil and a little blue window on it. Reference plane. And then you just draw where you think you want the top of your table to be. So I think it's going to be more or less here. So you should have something like that. So, the next thing I want to do is to control the height of the table. Well, actually, I'll tell you what I'll do. First of all, the extrusion we have down here, we want to get it parallel to the table here. So I'm going to use the align tool to do that. So I'm going to press this align button up here. And it says at the bottom left, please select line or point reference for alignment. So I'm going to select here. And then select an entity to align. So I'm going to align it there like that. And once I do that, we get this little lock. So now I can lock the top of the table to the reference plane. Okay? So this is what you got here. You got a big box. Now that we've done that, we want to be able to control the height of the table. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to put a measurement on it. So I'm going to put a dimension in here, a line dimension. I'm going to take a dimension from the reference level up to the reference plane, like that, which at the moment is 1139. Once we have the dimension in there, we can select it again and we can give it a label. So I'm going to give it add parameter, and I'm going to call this one table height. Make sense? All right. So everybody managed to put in a reference plane, yeah?
That one so far.
That one so far. So now we just need to go up to get an aligned dimension. And we take a dimension from the reference level. Make sure you select the right element. So from the reference level all the way up to the reference plane.
Sorry.
Once you do that, you can select the dimension and give it a label
Modify.
by adding a parameter. So I'm going to call it table height.
Where? Oh, that one.
I also want to be able to control the thickness of the table. So I'm going to take a dimension from the reference plane here. I'm going to take it all the way down to the bottom of the extrusion. Take it out here. And this time when I give it a label, I'm going to add a parameter. I'm going to call it table thickness. I'll tell you what, I'll just do this and I'll stop and I'll give you a hand, okay? Okay, so now when we go back into this button here, where we can control the parameters, is it going too fast? Okay, I'll pause it. I'll pause it. Resume. So now you can see that all the parameters I've put in here are now here. So I can come into this family type and I can change the table height to 800. I can change the table thickness to, let's say, 40 millimeters. And if I apply that, you can see it moves the elements correctly to the right thickness and to the right height because I've given them a parameter in there. If I change it back to the other, in here, I can do it again, give the table height. In the big one, let's make the table height, I don't know, let's make it 1,000. And we'll make the table thickness in this one 60. Oh, sorry, that's the opposite way around. This should be the small one, sorry. 30, 800, apply. And then for the big one, just so we have something different, I'm going to put the table height at 1,000 and the table thickness at 60 and apply. Press OK. I mean, you might not have all the steps here, but does the logic of it make sense? Is that the way you add the parameters? Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to do it again with the legs, just so we do the same exercise again, and then I'll stop it, and then you get a chance to do it yourselves. Okay, so now we've got the table set up like this. Let's just turn up the scale here. Something wrong with my mouse. So we have this set up, and we have it controllable by these parameters. So now I'm going to put in the table legs. That's just, what do we want here? We want the we want to get this up there as well. So we're going to have 4 legs in there. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I go into create. I'm going to make an extrusion on plan view, on top view. And I'm just going to draw more or less, whoops, let's make it a rectangle again because it's just an easy way to describe it. Something like that. So I've just made a kind of a square. And if I accept that like that, you can see that in the elevation view we get this kind of little stunted leg over here. Okay. So now I'm going to set up some parameters to deal with the dimensions of the leg and the distance it is from the edge of the table. So let's do the same thing again. It's exactly the same exercise every time. So I'm going to set up a dimension. Actually, I'm going to turn up the scale a bit so it doesn't disappear behind dimensions. I'm going to turn up dimension, and I'm going to take a dimension from here to here, and another one from here to here. I'm also going to take one from the edge of the leg to the edge of the table, and also here to here, like that. So I've set up a dimension for both planes of the table, but also for the dimension to the edge of the table. So now I'm going to do the same exercise again. Select one of the dimensions, come up to the label, add a parameter, and I'm going to call this one leg width, width. Okay. And now I've done it once, I can actually use the same dimension for everything else because I want it to be 100 by 100, and it actually makes sense for it to be also the same width from the edge of the table. So let's just change this one also by clicking on it, change the label to leg width. Going to change this one also to leg width, and change this one to leg width. So you can see it's moved it around based on the 100 dimension. Now that I've done that, I want to attach this to the base of the table. So I'm going to use the same one again, align. I'm going to choose where I want to align it to. And then I'm just going to Put it up there, and then I'm going to lock it in place so it always sticks to the base of the table, no matter where the base of the table goes.
If you now copy and paste, will the parameters follow?
Usually.
Can you do that last thing again?
Align it?
Yeah.
Okay. So in order to get the width of it correct, or the height of it correct, you can just use this button up here, the align button. So then I select where I want it to align to, and then I select the top of what I want to align, and then whenever you get this little open lock, close the lock, so that it'll always stick to the bottom of the table no matter how you move it around. Okay? So now we've put in one leg of the table.
What if it says control because floor plan is a very sharp angle?
I have no idea. I'll come down to you in a second. Okay, so now we've done all this work. we don't want to do it again, so we should be able to just use the mirror tools to copy it across using the reference planes as a center point. So I'm going to select all this from the bottom left, like this. And again, I'm selecting from the bottom left, so it only takes everything that's completely inside the window. And then I'm going to come up and use this mirror tool here, mirror by pick axis. So then I can mirror the work we've done. And we should be able to do it again. By pressing mirror. So then we should have a table that looks something like that. Okay, I'm just going to finish this up, and then we can do it slowly again. Okay. Okay, so now we've got the basic table set up. We can go back into our types up here, family types. And we can modify, let's say, where the big one, 2.4 meters by 1.2 meters, I'm going to change the leg width to 150, just because I can. And leave it like that, apply that. And when I change it over to the other type, 1800 by 900, in this one I'm going to use leg width of, let's say, I don't know, 75. Apply that. And press OK. So now we've actually designed a table with two specific types that we can insert into a project, and it's got controllable parameters that we can change within the project. So just to show you how that works now, I'm just going to open a project. So I'm just going to open the project I've got here. Let's see what projects have I got. First semester intro. Let's just open that up. I can't remember what that is, but anyway. Same one as you guys have. So I've got a project. I'm going to go back into the family, and now I'm going to save it. Save as family. Going to put it on the desktop, but you can put it wherever you want. I'm going to call it table, two types. Save. And now it's got a name. I can load it into the project. And there it is, ready to be put in the house. Okay. Why is my mouse not working properly? Anyway, never mind. So there's the table we just made. But the nice thing about it is, if I select it now and come over here to the properties, you can see we have two types in here. We've got the 18 by 900. We've also got the 2400 by 1200. So we've made two types of table, of furniture. So that's kind of the basics of what families are useful for. We could also come in there and give it a material parameter if we wanted to change it so it was in wood or whatever, but I think that's actually enough for now.
But do you do that in type? Or do you have to do that in the family creator?
You need to do that in the family creator. So okay, I'll just show you how to do that quickly. So if you want to add a material to it, go back into the family. Let's go into the 3D view. And once we're in here, I'm going to go into this button again, family types. This is where you actually control all the parameters. And I can add a new parameter here over on the right. So I'm going to say add parameter. And I'm going to call it material. And it's very important that you change the type of parameter from a length parameter to a material parameter. Okay. Then I press OK. And then you get a new parameter up here, material by category. And you can either assign a material in here, or if you leave it by category, you can leave it so it's changeable in the project itself. Okay.
As long as you just add the parameter.
And as long as you add the parameter. Well,
For the
it's
customer.
just one more
What
thing.
type should I put?
Material type. But it won't work unless you do one more thing, one more step. And that's it, take the individual elements, and they also have a material here, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
But you need to come over to this little button here and link the material parameter we've just made to the material of each individual element in order to be able to make it completely controllable.
Can you select all of them at once and do that?
I think you should be able to, if we filter them,
Not the dimension.
not the dimensions. Yes, yeah, we can.
This one. That one. Next to the calculator. The first place.
So I'm going to save that, load it into the project, overwrite the existing version, and then we should get the option to be able to change the material here to, you know, whatever we want.
Can you control it so that you, in the project, you change the material of each element individually? Like
Yes.
the legs and the,
Yeah.
the top will not change with the...
Yes, you can, and that's, if you go back, that's getting a little bit complex. I only want to do the basic stuff, but you
Add
each.
parameters?
No, it's just each individual element here has a material attached to it. At the moment, I've made them all the same. I've linked it by pressing this little button here
Yeah.
to an overall material parameter.
Yeah.
But you can also have a different one for every specific element you've made.
So the parameter for material like materials.
Yeah, yeah,
Table name.
exactly, yeah. All right.
Do you need to add something?
You need to add a parameter for each a separate material that you want to put in there. I've only, like, if I go in here and say there's only one material here, I can come in and add a parameter. I can say material leg. I need to change it to material parameter and press OK. So then it turns up as just the leg material. So then I can make that separate to the other material and so on. Okay. Now, I'm only showing you this stuff. It's not likely you'll have to do very much family design, but sometimes, like for example, it can be useful if you want to modify a window. You can if you notice most of the windows you get in Revit, they don't come with window sills attached, and it's really annoying. But you can modify the window family to add a window sill all the time, so it just pops in 3D all the time. So things like that it's quite useful to know. It's a little bit complicated, and this is actually the very, very simple part of it. It gets really complex if you really want to get into it, but you don't have to, because it's not part of an architecture technology course. It's more into design architecture and so on. But it's important that you know the basics of it anyway. All right. So let's just leave the video at that.